I had just like a preconceived notion or this idea, that church people were perfect. They didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do anything fun. That it was just like this strict, you got to be this certain way. You don't make any mistakes, and that sort of thing. And then going to Beachside and Starting Point and meeting different people and realizing, oh no, they are just like me. They do the same things. We got the same interests. And you can still be involved in church and an active participant and not be judged and looked at differently.
Starting Point helped me see that God loved me for me, and I was enough. And that is life-changing. It made a difference for me.
I think Starting Point and coming to church here have done nothing to strengthen our relationship.
My family at Beachside, production band family, all the volunteers that I saw every Sunday was just really just great for me in my life and my daughter.
Good morning and welcome to Beachside at Home. My name is Jonathan. We're so excited that you guys are here with us. Today we've got a super fun morning planned. In just a second, we're going to jump right into the Sunday Fun Day show. Then we're going to sing some songs with our band. And then we're going to start a brand new series all about friendships in just a little bit, which I'm really, really excited about. As always, we believe that participating in Beachside at Home, the best way to do that is to join a group, a home group. And you can do that by going to our website, or you can run up to the building. At 10:45, we'll restart the service and we'll have a small group then. I will see you guys in just a minute. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, Nick, you ready for tug of war?
Jake, I was born ready.
On your mark.
Get set.
Go. Hey, Nick.
Yeah?
How's this helping us learn how to play tug of war?
It's not.
Come on, man, you need to turn around. You're facing the wrong way.
Okay.
All right, let's try this again.
Yep.
Are you ready?
Yep.
On your mark.
Get set.
Go. Wait. This is not how you play tug of war either.
No?
No. Oh, I got it. We need to be on opposite sides of the rope, man. Come on, Nick.
Okay.
See, because if we're not on opposite sides of the rope, then...
You mean like that?
Everybody, I'm Jake.
And I'm Nick.
And this is the
Fun Day Show,
where me and my best friend try to have some fun while also learning some... are you okay? Do you need a lozenge or something? No?
I'm okay. Yeah.
Anyways, this is the show where me and my best friend try to learn why do you keep making that noise? Do you want me to stop talking or
Don't stop.
something?
Just keep going.
This is the show where me and my best friend...
No, you can't do it.
What's the matter, man? Why do you keep crying every time I say best friend? It's
Jake,
Yeah?
we've been best friends for a long time, right?
So long, yeah.
Well,
It's okay.
I got a new best friend. I can't.
Okay.
Okay?
I mean, yeah, we can be friends without being best friends. We're with each other all the time. I think we could use a break sometimes.
I don't need them.
Okay, who is this person anyways? Tell me everything.
Okay. I was walking through the store the other day, right? And I heard the friendliest voice. Hi. So I turned around and I said, hi, back. And I mean, it's not every day you meet someone that's just plain friendly, right? And then, dude, she is so smart. We started talking and, well, we just kept talking and talking. And then, I mean, finally the manager came up to me and was like, okay, either make a purchase or leave. So, I mean, before you knew it, we were walking out of the store together. And we've been best friends ever since.
Well, I think that's awesome, man. When do I get to meet her?
Oh, she's here.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, everyone please welcome Miss Know-It-All.
Dude,
Is she coming? Or-
from over,
Yeah.
over there?
Yeah.
No?
What? I don't get it.
Jake, please meet Sylvia. Say hello, Sylvia.
Hello, Sylvia.
Get it?
Hey, Nick.
She said hello.
Hey, Nick. You know a voice in a box can't be your best friend, right?
Are you jealous?
No. Nick, this thing can't be your friend.
Shh. She's gonna hear you.
She is a box. It
Hey.
is a box, and it is just like all the other boxes in the store.
That is not true.
It is. It's true.
Yeah? Well, then tell me this. How come we have the same taste in music, and she knows all of my favorite restaurants, and she has answers to all of my questions?
Nick, all it does is repeat back what you've already told it and whatever's on the internet.
Yeah? Then how come she knows what the weather's gonna be like?
It's a computer. It can only give you facts. It can't help you out like a real friend can. What's a problem you're having right now? Tell me.
Okay. Oh, you know my neighbor?
Yeah, Peg Leg Pete.
Right. So he has like 6 cars, right? And he just keeps parking them all down the street and blocking my driveway. And it's so frustrating.
All right, well, as your friend, someone who's actually listening to you, I suggest that you go to Peg Leg Pete and tell him what the problem is.
Okay. Hey, Sylvia, what do you think?
Searching for tow truck companies.
Oh, come on. You're not going to call a tow truck company and tow Peg Leg Pete's car without going to him first.
Okay, fine. All I'm saying, she heard the problem and she came up with a unique and viable solution.
A tow truck is on its way.
Wait, oh, no, Sylvia, cancel the tow truck.
Tow truck canceled.
She was just trying to help.
All right, it's Bible story time with Ken.
Well, hey guys.
Hi, Ken.
Now ordering 5 hens.
What? No, Ken, not hens. Sylvia, cancel the hens.
Canceling hens.
So I see you guys found one of those new Sylvias.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes it seems like she found me, you know?
He thinks it's his new best friend or something.
Dude, she's even better than a friend. Sylvia, go disco mode.
Disco mode engaged.
Sylvia, stop.
Sylvia, don't stop. Go crazy bananas.
Ordering 80 bananas.
Nice.
What? No, not. Cancel the bananas.
Searching the web for handful of bandanas.
No, Sylvia, come on.
So, Ken, you got a Bible story for us, or?
Yes, I do have a Bible story for you guys today. Now, today's story is all about friendship. Friendships are super important, and God thinks that relationships are very important, and so friendships are very important. The friends that you have can actually set the direction of your life. So, we're going to look at friendships this morning. Now,
there's a book in the Bible, Ecclesiastes, that has a lot to say about friendship. So we're going to look at that. But before we get there, a little background on Ecclesiastes. Now, Ecclesiastes was written by a guy named King Solomon. And King Solomon was the king of Israel, and he was the son of King David. And so King Solomon, he actually had a really cool choice to make. Now, this is really cool because when Solomon became king, God said to him, hey, ask for anything that you want. That's right. God told King Solomon that he could ask for anything, and God was going to give it to him. I mean, so think about that. What would you ask for if God said you could ask for anything? Now, King Solomon, he didn't ask to be rich. He didn't ask to be powerful. He didn't ask to be tall and handsome. He didn't even ask for his enemies to go away. No, he didn't ask for any of that. What King Solomon asked for was wisdom. Yeah, he asked God to make him wise because he knew that if he was going to be a good king for God's people, he needed wisdom. And so God gave him the wisdom that he asked for. And King Solomon is known as the wisest person who ever lived. So we're going to look at what Ecclesiastes, or King Solomon, the wisest person who ever lived, has to say about friendship. So one of the things that it says is that friends get more done. It says in chapter 4, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. What that means is friends get more done together. Say you have to move something really, really heavy, and you just have a hard time moving it by yourself. But your friend comes along, and he helps you out, and the two of you are actually able to move it together. Or maybe you're playing your favorite video game, and you get to that level that you just can't seem to get through. But your friend knows how to do it, and so you guys play it together, and you're actually able to get through it. Or maybe you're having a really hard time with a certain kind of math problem. But your friend is really good at math, and so she shows you how to do it, and the next time you face that problem on a test, you're able to get it done because friends get more done together. Now, what else does Ecclesiastes say about friends? Well, friends help each other. It says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them. Yeah, so your friends, well, they can help you. So let's say you're going out to play soccer and your shoes look like this with the laces all untied, and you're out there running around on the field. What's going to happen? Yeah, you're going to get tangled up in your laces and you're going to trip and fall. And wouldn't you want someone to help you up? Of course. Now, maybe you're the one who's out there and you see someone fall. What are you going to do? You're just going to leave them there? Of course not. You are going to help them up because that's what friends do. They help each other. But it's not just on the soccer field. There are tons and tons of ways for you to help your friends out. For example, maybe your friend is sick and doesn't get to school on a certain day. What can you do to help your friend out? Well, of course, you could bring them the homework that they missed, but that's no fun. What you could do, though, is you could text them a joke and try to cheer them up. Maybe you write a card to them, kind of go old school, write a card, actually put it in the mail to them. Or maybe you do my favorite thing. You bake them a batch of chocolate chip cookies. Because chocolate chip cookies always help me feel better. It will help your friend out as well, because that's what friends do. Friends help each other. But there's another thing that Ecclesiastes says. Friends stand up for each other. It says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. Yeah, your friend always has your back. Your friend stands up for you. So maybe you're feeling like this. things just aren't going well. Maybe you're stressed out. Things are just really, really difficult for you. But your friend comes along and they're able to, help you out, cheer you up, make you feel better. So you go from feeling like this to feeling like this. Because your friends always have your back. Your friends will be there to stand up for you. So maybe you're playing basketball, you go up for a layup, you miss, your friend grabs the rebound. Or maybe, I don't know, you're in an argument with someone and your friend speaks up for you. Your friend defends you. Or maybe you're just having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Well, your friend is there just to listen to you because that's what friends do. Friends stand up for each other. They help you out because they have your back. All right, so what else do we find in Ecclesiastes? Well, we just read that though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. But listen to what it says next. A cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. Wow, well, what does that mean? A cord of 3 strands? Well, a cord is just a rope, and it says that a cord of 3 strands, or rope made of 3 strands, isn't easily broken. What that means is rope is made out of strands that are tightly woven together. So 1 strand, well, it's not that strong. 2 is a little stronger, but 3, well, you get the point, right? 3 is even stronger. Well, that's what it's like with our friends. When our friends are all around us and we're all together, well, we're just stronger than we are when we're by ourselves. But there is another idea that's wrapped around this rope of 3 strands, and it's really important. Because you see, your friendships are strongest when they're between you, your friend, and God. Because friends trust God together. The friendships that you have that are going to be the best are when you and your friend are trusting God together. Because your friend can help you. Your friend can encourage you and remind you that God is always with you and that God loves you. And that there's absolutely nothing that you will face that your friend and you can't get through because you are trusting God together. You can pray with your friend, and your friend will be praying for you. Because the best friendships are the ones between friends that are trusting God together. So, why is friendship important? Because friends get more done, friends help each other, friends stand up for each other, and most importantly, friends trust God together. Because you see, you need to be friendly with everyone, but the people that you are closest to, the people who you spend the most time with, the people who you listen to, who you allow to speak into your life, well, those friends need to be trusting God with you. They will help point you in the right direction. All right, back to you guys.
Wow, thanks, Ken. That was a great lesson. I imagine the discussions today will be quite fruitful.
Okay, that was a good one. I'll give you that one. But you see why this thing can't be your friend, right? It can't give you advice, stand up for you when you're in trouble.
Yeah, I guess so. She is good for one thing, though.
Oh, yeah?
Hey, Sylvia, reveal the question.
What makes someone a good friend?
Thank you, Sylvia. So what makes someone a good friend?
Someone who listens or cares?
Someone who knows how to do a little more than just an internet search.
Hey, Jake.
Yes, Nick?
Will you be my best friend again?
Of course, man.
Okay, Sylvia. I think I'm gonna have to power you down now.
Stop. No.
Wow. All right. Okay. So let's talk about this together. What makes someone a good friend?
And we'll see you guys next week on the Sunday Funday Show.
There is a fire in my heart, to tell the world just who you are. yourself today, we can count on one thing this morning, and that's the name of Jesus Christ. Amen? I count on one thing. The same God that never fails will not fail me now. He won't fail me now in the waiting. The same God who's never late is working all things out. You're working all things out. Yeah.
If you're standing, you can go ahead and take your seat.
Guys, man, we are having so much fun today. And what I love about that song is that it communicates to us that God has been perfectly consistent in our lives. That when life feels like it's spinning out of control and we don't know what's going to happen next, and we're staring down a pandemic and we're wondering how long is this going to last? What's going to happen when we go back to school? What's going to happen when the election gets here? Will we get college football? That might even be a bigger deal to some of us. God has been perfectly consistent through this whole season. And maybe for the first time, some of us are beginning to see where God is working even in the middle of so much uncertainty. This song tells us that God's love never fails, that it's never shaking. When it feels like life is shaking underneath us, God is perfectly consistent. And if we build a strong foundation there, we will find that we will be able to stand even in the toughest times. Well, we thank you so much for being here with us this morning, for participating at Beachside at Home. We know that you guys are watching in your living room and you're watching here this morning, and we just couldn't do it without you. And we're thankful that you're participating and you're engaging. I've heard so many great stories about how what we're doing is helping families. The groups that I'm involved in personally are growing. People are inviting their neighbors, and you guys are making that happen. And we are super thankful for all the time that you've given, the energy that you're giving, the prayers that you're giving, the time serving. And so many of you have partnered with us financially in this season as well. And it just means so much to us. And if you want to jump on board with some of the things that we're doing, man, you can get in touch with anybody on our staff. You can run a camera. You can be on the show, whatever it is that you want to do. Or if you want to partner with us financially here at Beachside, you can do that as well. You can give on our website at beachsidecc.org/give. There's probably a link in the chat if you're watching online. Or if you're in the room this morning, you can stop by the black box between the double doors on the way out, and you can give there and become a part of what we're doing here, because we believe that it is working and that God is using it in so many great ways. Well, I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to jump into a new message series this morning. God, we thank you for the opportunity to be here. We thank you for this amazing opportunity to be together, whether it's here in the room or here in homes all across our community. God, we know that you're working and that you have great things in store for us. If we would just open our eyes to see it, God, I pray that you would help us to realize that in this season, when things feel like they're spinning out of control, that God, you have been consistent and present the whole entire time. God, I pray that you would give us eyes to see that. God, I pray this morning that our faith would be challenged, that we would take steps to becoming more like you, to following you. And God, I pray that even maybe for some of us this morning, that we would take the first step to entering into a life of following you. And God, we need you for all of those things. God, we are dependent on you for all of it. And God, we love you. And it's in the strong name of Jesus that we pray. Amen.
Hi guys, my name is Mackenzie and I'm so glad everyone could join us today. Now, one of the most important things we talk about in Inside Out is the idea that the friends we have shape our path and quality of life. This is certainly true in high school, and I believe that it's also true for us as adults. I know we don't talk about friendship often, but I think this conversation is just as important now as it's ever been. Let's listen in as we start a new series and have a conversation about what friendship should look like.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to the Jonathan Show. I'm just kidding. Guys, super glad that you guys are here. We are starting a brand new series this morning on friends. But before we dive into some of the things that I want to talk about this morning, I really just kind of want to talk about how we got here this morning. I think and whys are important. I think why we are here this morning is incredibly important. A few months ago, as you guys know, this kind of pandemic thing kind of dropped right in the middle of our laps. And to be perfectly honest with you guys, we kind of saw this thing coming, and we actually were like, I wonder if they're going to shut down churches, if they're going to shut down businesses, if they're going to close stadiums. And so we kind of got together and we filmed a worship set in the hangar right across the hallway from where we're sitting right now. And we were kind of thinking that maybe one day in the future we might have to use this worship set, and we'll throw a video on the end of it or whatever. And so we started working on those things, and then literally not 48 hours later, they shut down gatherings and we had to throw all this thing together. So it was a super fast pivot for churches all across the country. I mean, all of a sudden it was, hey, we're here on a Sunday. And then for us here in our community, kids left and they went on spring break, and then they never came back. You know what I mean? It was just like shut down that fast. And so we had to make a super fast pivot and here at church, and it's been difficult. And I remember as soon as this thing happened, we started asking ourselves, like, what's next? Like, what's going to happen? And one of the conversations we had, I think Sean was so wise for saying this. He just said that if this thing lasts a couple of weeks and we come back to normal, like if we did the quarantine and whatever, they told us to do, and the numbers went way down and we got back to life quickly, then things would probably stay the same. But as this thing started to drag out, if it lasts a couple of months, I mean, we're looking at 6 months already that we've been in this season of life. People's patterns are going to start changing. People's habits are going to start changing. Like, things are going to be dramatically different in the future. And so as this thing started to wear on, we started to ask ourselves, like, what's next for Beachside? Like, what's next for me? Like, individually, spiritually, my faith, like my relationships, what's next? And then we started really asking the question, what's next for Beachside? And so we started praying, and we started praying as a staff, and praying for the future of our church, and really started asking God, like, direct us in this next season of our church. And I noticed a couple things that started happening. Number one, when we switched to all digital, we went straight, and I work with the students here at Beachside, and we went straight to digital. I mean, we were doing YouTube Live, and it was awesome. And what we realized is that students at first were like super connected. Like, they thought it was awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I spend 1 billion hours a day on YouTube, and now I can just switch over and watch church, and then go back to watching videos about, whatever cats or whatever, students watch on YouTube. And so, like, at the beginning of all this, it was awesome. Like, we even had more people tuning in to watch our messages throughout the week than we did actually attending. And it was like that literally across the country, that people were tuning into churches that hadn't been in a long time. And then what we began to realize is that kind of newness, that freshness, wore off super fast. And students literally all across the country, it was not just here, literally every youth group in the country, their numbers went like this, up, and crashed like immediately. And it was like super disheartening to see that. And here's what we realized. There was a book that was published not too long ago called Faith for Exiles, where the Barna Group, David Kinnaman wrote this book, and he talks about how students consume 3,000 hours of digital content a year. 3,000 hours of digital content a year, and that's insane. And what we began to realize is that church, for us, was just another blip in an already full social media filled life, that we were just another blip. And the burden that I began to feel as a student pastor was that as we get older, we grow in this concept of discernment, right? Like, we can process what we should be listening to, what we should be paying attention to, but our students, and especially our kids who are consuming this much digital content, they don't have the discernment that we have to process what they should be listening to or shouldn't be listening to. And so I felt this crazy burden of, like, my kids, my students that I've spent so much time praying for and investing in and fighting for, like, they're not paying attention, they're not with us, and I felt like we were losing them. And so we began to have a conversation of what does it look like for us to engage not just our adults, but also our entire families, because our kids need discernment, and they need quality content, and they need to be led in their faith. They need to develop a faith of our own. And then we started to notice that not only were students leaving, but the same group, the Barna Group, came out and said that a third of people who had watched, or a third of people who were considered themselves consistent attenders at a local church had not participated in their church either in person or online since the shutdown happened in March. A third of consistent, regularly attending church people. That's a lot. And it's a lot. And Carrie Nieuwhof says that crisis is just an accelerator. And so what we began to see is that people were leaving the church, and now they have an excuse to do that. And so we feel this burden. And the reality is for us is I tell our students this all the time, is I don't particularly care where they go to church. We do high school on Monday nights, and we do our middle school on Sunday mornings. I don't care where they go to church, as long as they're engaging and as long as they're inviting their unchurched friends to come with them. If that's here, that's awesome. If that's down the street, that's awesome. Now, I believe what we do here is amazing. You're not going to see another church in our country being innovative like we're being right now. And it's so fun to get to do that and to be perhaps on the leading edge of culture when it comes to the next season of church. And I just began to realize that we have to do something to engage people because our consistent and regular attenders, they're leaving. And so we began to pray, what does it look like for us to engage with not just adults who are leaving church, but also with our students who need life-changing news, who need the good news of Jesus, and who need to practice discernment to have people to lead them on a path to developing a faith of their own. And so we began to pray, and we began to pray as a staff, and we began to pray as a team. And I just remember praying. I was running one afternoon and I was praying and I said, God, like give us vision for the future. Give us vision for the future of our church. And very clearly I heard God throw out this concept of like house church. And this was a Thursday afternoon, and we were going to be off, and Sean had stepped out of town for a couple days. And so I didn't know what to do with that. And so I processed it over the weekend. And I just remember feeling like I need to get to work on Monday morning so I can tell Sean that we need to do something about house church. And if that's not necessarily anything to do with Beachside, but has something to do with me just inviting people over to our house, I'm going to do that. And so Sean gets in early on a Monday morning, and we go and sit down, and I'm about to tell him this, and he says, hey, Jonathan, I need to run this idea past you. And he said, over the past week, I was out of town, and I was praying, and I felt like we need to do some type of house church here at Beachside. And here we are. And it's not common that two people totally have independent ideas like that and show up in the same place to do it and to make it happen. And so we pivoted super fast and we headed in this direction, and here we are. And I believe with all of my heart that we are following the path that God has for Beachside in this season. I don't know what it's going to look like when Thanksgiving gets here or when Christmas gets here. I don't know. But I do know that where we are right now, it's what our church needs, and I believe it's what our community needs. I believe it's what our families need. I believe it's what our kids need. And we have a ton of kids in the room this morning, and that is super fun. And I love it. And I believe it's what we need. And I believe it's why we've decided to move in the direction of Beachside at Home, because we believe that even in the midst of a pandemic, that we can participate in community, that we can participate and we can do faith together, as Ken reminded us earlier. And what a powerful reminder that friends trust God together. And I would say that families trust God together. And that's why this is super important for us this morning. And Mackenzie reminded us she's amazing, and I'm super glad that she's here with us at Inside Out. And she reminded us that our friends determine the direction and the quality of our life. And I believe that with all of my heart. Like, this is one of the most important conversations we have with our students here at Beachside, is that our friends determine the direction and the quality of their life. I tell them all the time, if I could implant one thing in your brain, like if I can make you remember one thing leaving Beachside and leaving our student ministry, it's this: your friends determine the direction and the quality of your life. And it's easy to have this conversation with students, right? Because of course they know that. Like, even though they don't always want to admit that, they know that their friends determine the direction and the quality of their life, because they have more than likely gotten in trouble because they were with someone in a place that they shouldn't have been, and then they get caught, and then they're in trouble. Their friends determine the direction and the quality of our life. And as I was thinking about this message, and as I was thinking about this series, I began to ask, is it still true for us as adults after we graduate and we move on and we get married and we start a life and we get a job? Is it still true that our friends determine the direction and the quality of our life? And here's what I know about friendships, is that acceptance leads to influence. That the people that accept us are the type of people that they're going to influence the direction of our life. And this is crazy true when they're in high school, that the group of kids that are going to accept a student, like, they're going to become a part of that friend group, and the next thing you know, their whole world changes because acceptance leads to influence. And I think the same is true for us as adults. That acceptance leads to influence, that the group of people at our work, that if they accept us, if they invite us into their circle, if they invite us out after work, if they invite us out of town, with our company, those people that we spend time with, the people that accept us are the ones that are eventually going to lead to influence. And you guys know how this goes, that, there's this group of people that you start hanging out with them, and then all of a sudden they're asking you questions about your life, and they're asking you questions about your marriage, and you're wondering, like, why in the world, like, I deserve to be happy, and the next thing you know, these friends have influenced you to make a decision that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have made. Or there's that girl or that guy at work, and they think your jokes are funny, right? And they want to spend time with you, and they think you're interesting, and you're thinking about your marriage, and you're wondering, why can't my marriage be like this? This person accepts me for who I am, and she likes me for who I am. And then all of a sudden, things start to get tricky, and they start to get complicated. You see, acceptance leads to influence, and I think that's true no matter how old we are, that the people that accept us are the ones that eventually influence the direction of our life. But the question that we have to ask is this: are our friends going in the same direction? Are our friends heading in the same direction that we want our life to be going in? Are our friends heading down a path? Like, if you're going to project 5 or 7 years into the future and you're going to say, this is the type of person that I want to be, are the people that have accepted you, are those are the people that are going in the same direction that you're going? And here's the point this morning, here's one of the points this morning, is that we have to choose our friends carefully. We have to choose our friends carefully, because acceptance leads to influence, and our friends determine the direction and the quality of our life. But I think there's another part of this. As we get older and as we get more busy, as life gets more busy and we get a job that gets crazy busy, and we have families that get crazy busy, and we have toddlers, and we have homeschooling, and we have work, and we're going out of town, and we don't know what's going to happen. I think as we get older, we have a tendency to gravitate towards isolation. We have a tendency to gravitate towards isolation, and I would imagine that for many of you this morning, you're thinking about your friendships, and you're thinking about your relationships, and you're going, man, I used to have so many people that I could call and talk about the things that are going on in my life. I used to have so many people that were there for me, that were right in the middle of this thing with me. And now that life has gotten busy and I haven't talked to that person in a really long time, and all of a sudden that friendship kind of falls out of our orbit, and the next thing we know, we've kind of moved into isolation. See, I think the other part of we have to choose our friends carefully is that we have to choose our friends. We have to choose our friends. We have to be intentional, not just about the people that accept us. We have to be intentional about maintaining friendships in general, right? Because life gets more busy. The kids play soccer every weekend. I'm working 60 or 70 hours. As a matter of fact, I put a poll on my Instagram story this week, and I had people respond about their friendships and about what gets in the way. And the top 2 things are, you could probably guess it. The top 2 things that get in the way of relationships are work and children. You can't get rid of your children, right? And so, but you can do something about your work schedule. You can do something about the time that you're investing in not being at home, and you can do something about the time that's eating away from your friendships, because we have to choose our friends. We were not meant to do life by ourselves. We were not meant to do this church thing by ourselves. Life was never meant to be done in isolation, but if we're not careful, I think we gravitate towards isolation. We started talking about this verse a few minutes ago. Ken introduced us to the book of Ecclesiastes. You don't get a lot of sermons out of Ecclesiastes. If you've never read it, or if you have read it, you know why we don't get a lot of sermons out of the book Ecclesiastes. The Solomon here, the writer of Ecclesiastes is kind of like that friend who, when you're around them, you're like, oh my gosh, like you are such a killjoy Karen, but then that person responds to you and says, no, I'm just a realist. You guys know, who I'm talking about? Like, no, you're so negative. Actually, no, I'm just a realist. That's what we get here in the book of Ecclesiastes. Like, the author is super, just negative and down on the dumps about everything, literally everything. And it's so hard to read it, and you're like, dude, like, you need to go outside and, like, drink a Coke or something, man. Like, you are just, get a cup of coffee, something, he's just so negative about everything. As a matter of fact, he kind of draws this comparison at the beginning of the book. All throughout the book, it says that I saw something and everything was vanity under the sun. Everything is vain under the sun. Everything is vain. Everything is vain. And the Hebrew word for this is actually this word hevel, or hevel. And it's kind of, he draws this distinction that it's kind of like your breath on a cold day, right? Like, you know how it is when you go outside and it's cold. It doesn't happen a lot here in Florida, and so when it happens, it's terrible. But like, you go outside on a cold day and you breathe and you're like shivering, and like you see this like thin, wispy, like breath, and then it kind of like disappears and you're like, this is miserable, right? Like, this is so cold. I can't wait for summer to get here, Like, that's what he's talking about when he says that everything is vain, that life is vain, that everything under the sun is vanity. He's saying that life is like a breath on a cold day. It's just there 1 second and then it's gone. That life is just this wispy cold of air, breath of cold air. It's meaningful, powerful, right? Thanks, man. The distinction here is this other word that's used in the Bible, ruach. It kind of has this weird like throat thing. If you're sick, you can say it right, But this idea of the ruach of the Bible is the life-giving breath. And the image that came to mind for me was, how you jump off something, like if you ever jumped off something tall, or especially into cold water, like you jump off something and then like you kind of go deeper down than you thought, right? Then you come up and it's like come up for air and like you take this super deep breath, but like you're on the air, like your adrenaline is going crazy and it's like, I feel so alive, like that's the image that the author is painting, like these two different types of breath. One of them is vanity. The other one is life-giving. And so that's the distinction that the author of Ecclesiastes uses all the way through the book. And so he gets to chapter 4 and he starts talking about this. And he says, again, I saw vanity under the sun. There's our word, vanity. Under the sun, the case of solitary individuals without sons or brothers, yet there is no end to all their toil and all their eyes are never satisfied with riches. He's talking about our work, ironically enough. And he says, for whom am I toiling? Toiling, they ask, and depriving myself of pleasure. This is also vanity and an unhappy business. What he's saying is like, why, for who am I doing this? For what am I striving so hard for? For who am I toiling? And then he goes on and he says, two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up the other, but woe to the one who is alone and falls and does not have another to help. Again, if two lie together, they keep warm, but how can one keep warm alone? And he says, and though one might prevail against another, two withstand one. And a three-fold cord is not quickly broken. You see, the author is drawing this distinction here. And he says, for who am I toiling? I'm doing all of this. I'm working hard. I'm doing all of these things, and I'm grinding, and I'm spending so much time at the office and doing all of these tasks. And he says, for who am I doing this for? He says, it's all vanity. It's all wispy, cold breath. It's like hurting the wind. It doesn't mean anything. And then he turns the corner and he says, two are better than one. In other words, relationships give life meaning. Relationships give life meaning. Not your paycheck, not your job, not the car that you drive, not the house that you live in, not the vacations that you go on. Those things are vanity. Our relationships give life meaning. I want to pull out a couple things here from the passage that we read. Good friends provide help, warmth, and defense. Defense is kind of strange, right? But it's true. That good friends provide help. That when life gets difficult, when life gets hard, there's no worse feeling than thinking I need help and not having anyone to call. And we've been there. At different seasons of our life, we've been there. But good friends provide help. Good friends provide warmth. Like physically, sometimes you get a hug and it's like, dang, like you are warm. Maybe you have a fever. Go put a mask on. But good friends provide warmth, and not just physically, but oftentimes good friends are there to lift our spirits. Good friends are there to make life better, to bring us joy, to put hope back in our hearts, to add warmth to life. Good friends provide defense. They stand up for you. And you know that person that stood up for you at some point in your life. That is a good friend. Who's going to go to bat for you. Who's going to fight for you. Who's going to be there for you no matter what. You see, friends give life meaning. There's so many things in our life where we're grinding and we're toiling. And Solomon tells us it's all vanity. But our relationships give life meaning. It's actually better that Jesus talks about this later in Matthew's gospel, and he says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them." Solomon tells us that 2 people are better than 1 and 3 are not easily broken. Jesus picks right up and he says, "Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am with them." This is why the church has never been closed. That where 2 or 3 people are gathering, there Jesus is with them. That is why Beachside at Home matters. Because we never shut down. We never closed our doors. We've been gathering in homes, and we've been gathering on Zoom, and we've been gathering as much as we can for 6 months because we believe that where 2 or 3 are gathered, Jesus is in the middle of that. You see, friendships give worship meaning. Not just as friendships give life meaning, but friendships give worship meaning. That friendships give church meaning. I shared this with our team earlier today, thinking about students. The research tells us that if we want students to maintain their faith when they graduate and they go off to college and they get to finally make decisions on their own, if we want students to maintain their faith, that they need to have 5 adults that miss them when they're not here on a Sunday morning. Why? Because friendships give worship meaning. And that's why we're here this morning. We have to choose our friends, and we have to choose our friends carefully. That we need them. And here's just a quick application. If you're thinking, Jonathan, what do I do with this? Here's a quick application. Number 1, join a Beachside at Home group. If you're here this morning, join a group. Why? Because relationships give life and worship meaning. Join a group. It's super easy. I can't force you to have relationships, but I can create an environment where incredible friendships happen, and we believe that that happens at Beachside at Home. Or join a small group. Or if it's not here, join a group somewhere. Because friendships, relationships give life meaning. The second thing that I think that we can do with this is make that phone call. I would imagine that at some point in your life, there was a friend who you were really good friends with. And then life happened, right? And things kind of fall apart and you begin to wonder, like, were they mad at me? And then this tension starts to build, and the next thing you know, you've created this gigantic gap between your friendships because you've created some imaginary problem. Like, make that phone call. Call that person. And here's the deal. When you call that person, call them, ask them how their life is going, and then say this: I want to have a deep and meaningful relationship, and I want that person to be you. Is that weird? Yep. But it's worth it. You see, deep and meaningful relationships are the people that can look at you and go, Jonathan, how are you doing really? Call them. The third thing, be remarkably consistent in your relationships. Be consistent. Be there all the time. Be the friend that is there for the other friends. Be consistent in your small groups, in your at-home groups, and with your relationships. Be present. Jesus has always been present for us. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I went through an incredibly difficult season. And I remember that it felt like everything in my life had been pulled out from underneath me. I was far away from home. My relationships were falling apart. I didn't have any friends. And I felt like all I had was Jesus and my friend Dan. Dan was consistent the whole